Greetings, denizens of the interweb. Welcome to the show. We are at episode 14, if you can believe it. I didn't know at first what to say, and now you can't shut me the hell up. Anyway, welcome to the show. We got some new subscribers. Welcome. We got some regular folk. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate your support. If you haven't subscribed yet and you're a first-time listener, hit the subscribe button down below. Hit the like button. Send me some comments and stuff. And, thanks for your support. I do appreciate it. I don't know where you folks are in the world, but as I've said before, I'm posting from Sin City Sound Recording Studios. And we are nestled in the foothills of the Alberta Rocky Mountains. One of the most beautiful places on the planet, really. Anyway, we were hit with summer's over and fall is upon us. We went from the changing of the larches, which is, it's just unreal if you've never seen it in person. It's where all the trees are changing color. I know that happens all over the world, but we have larches here in this area of the world, and when they change color, it's quite extraordinary, actually. So last week when I was doing the show, I think we were in the 90s still as far as temperatures go for my American friends. I always talk in Fahrenheit. Sorry. So anyway, it was in the high 20s, low 30s last week when I was taping the show for last week's episode. This week, however, fall is upon us. Actually, where I am, we did not have any snow, but friends of mine that are basically up the road a ways, they had some coming in, and my fair weather friends from FLA, they're still in Three Sisters out by Banff Canmore area, and they were sending me videos yesterday. It was puking snow like you wouldn't believe. Sunshine Village has snow. That's a ski area in our resort. It's a ski resort in our area. Oh, I'm having trouble talking. Probably from that bourbon. Cheers. Happy Sunday, everybody. Anyway. So fall is upon us. I just got back with the meatballs, and it's definitely sweater weather. I got my Burton Board hoodie on, vest on, hoodie up, and that wind had a bit of a bite, but it's sunny and blue sky, so I'm not complaining. Things could be worse. Speaking of worse and things being worse, am I the only one that has noticed that there is no coverage of the Christian genocide that is currently underway in Nigeria and Sudan? I mean, I know I'm not the only one because a couple of people have mentioned it to me in the comments and stuff, and that they thought that might be a good idea to address it, and I kind of went down the rabbit hole, and it certainly is a good idea to address it because, reports have it that almost 500,000 Christians since 2018 have been exterminated. And I don't know about you, but I haven't seen anything on the news, or at least not the coverage that that you would expect, considering that the hot topic of the day is genocide, right? All over the world, everybody who's in a conflict, they're one way or another committing genocide. What about the Christian genocide that's going on? I don't see anything being covered by it. 500,000 of them. 1,400 churches burnt. I don't hear nothing. I don't hear It's nothing but crickets from the legacy media, the mainstream media. It's like it doesn't even. It's like it's not even happening, and it's blowing my mind. So I went down a bit of a rabbit hole, which I'll get into a little later. So on this topic of the Christian genocide, like I said, I went down the rabbit hole and I did a bit of research, and lo and behold, did you know that the Christian Bible is banned in 9 countries in the world, on the planet? 9 countries on planet Earth have a strict ban against the Bible. You can imagine, obviously, the countries that are right on top of the list are going to be the diehard Muslim countries, right? Which is accurate. It's, a lot of the Middle Eastern countries. So it's banned in 9 countries. It's restricted in 13 others, like North Korea, places like that. You can Google it. I mean, all this information, anything that I'm telling you, please Google it. And if I'm wrong, which doesn't happen, ask my wife. But if I'm wrong, I'll correct it. But I did go down that rabbit hole. So the Christian Bible is banned in 9 countries. It is strictly regulated in 13 others. But the Quran, do you know how many countries that it is banned in or even restricted in? Take a wild guess. 0. None. So the bastion of Western civilization for, you can argue with me on this, but I'm not even religious. Anybody that's been following me for any given time would know that, my newfound spirituality, if you will, is newfound. I have been a very vocal opponent of organized religion and the church as we know it. I think that absolute power breeds corruption. And, I've been a very vocal opponent of its doings and stuff. But, I'm going down this rabbit hole and I'm finding this is some crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Like, why is the Bible banned in so many places, but the Quran is not? And nobody says anything about that. Nobody says, hey, wait a minute, slow your roll. Just to give you an idea, our illustrious prime minister, unelected prime minister, the puppet, the WEF puppet that they basically shoehorned into place. He's trying to backdoor another bill which will censor basically free speech on the internet, giving them untold powers to literally cut off your ability to get Wi-Fi or internet so that you can't post things. It's basically, we're basically becoming communist China one way at a time. But here in Alberta, we are fighting back, and I think that the tensions are heating. So our illustrious prime minister is trying to do another censorship bill for the internet and stuff like that. And if you caught the broadcast when they're talking about it, it covered all your bases. It covered Islamophobia, it covered anti-Semitism, it covered homophobia, it covered all that, all sorts of hate speech like that. What wasn't mentioned in there though was Christian phobia, Catholic phobia. None of that. So all these other religions and stuff like that, they're going to have they're going to try, that's for sure, because it's not going to pass without a feverish fight, at least from my province in Alberta. Anyway, so they're trying to pass this bill. It covers all your bases, but it certainly doesn't cover Christians. And it seems to me like this is an ongoing theme these days. Like I said, in Nigeria and Sudan, they're systematically going around butchering Christians, burning their churches down. Where's the outrage for that? I don't see the campuses of the Ivy League schools hosting these flag burnings or whatever for the Christian cause. The streets of Montreal aren't people protesting about the genocide in Nigeria of Christian people. Now ask yourself, why is that? Because I'm asking myself, I don't know. Your mind goes to dark places, and it seems like all these conspiracy theories are more or less coming to fruition. From the abhorrent immigration policies. For all the Western countries in the world, you don't see these immigration policies. Like, you don't see Iran and Iraq and Egypt and Dubai and Israel, for that matter. You don't see them with the open borders just welcoming, welcoming invaders. I'm just going to say it because that's what it is, man. It's an invasion. If they're allowed to protest and burn our flags on our street, and in places like the UK, you get arrested for, even just calling attention to it, they'll throw you in jail. But if you're like actively seeking underage girls for your dark pleasures, well, we can't really do anything about you because, you didn't know any better and you come from a different culture. That's what we're dealing with nowadays. That is what we're dealing with, folks. How about the Syrian guy that's shot dead after the murder at the synagogue in the UK? How many more times do these people have to tell us what they're going to do, actually do it, before we wake up and go, wait a minute, like this is crazy. So if you've covered that story and had a gander at that, the guy had a phony explosive vest on. He did that purposely because he knew that it would keep the authorities at bay, right? Because they don't want him to detonate what they thought was a live explosive device that he was wearing, right? So clearly they don't want him to detonate the shit. So they were trying to talk him down and ended up killing him. Good. Good. But I mean, I can't open my social media without reading about, I'll talk about Canada, where I live, right? Toronto, Montreal, those places, man, they've fallen. I can't open my social media one day without reading about this new Canadian murdered somebody, this guy, was charged for abducting, underage girls, and it just goes on and on and on. And, I'm getting warned that, God, Sasha, aren't you scared, like, by talking about this, that you're going to get into some sort of trouble? Am I frightened? No, not really. We have to fucking talk about this, though. We have to talk about this. What are we waiting for? Till we turn into Germany? What they have going on with the immigrants down there? How about what's going on in the UK? Are we going to wait for that stuff to happen down there? Up here, of course not. We got to do something. Our attacks on free speech. We're allowed to protest for certain things, and then other things you'd get arrested for protesting, right? Like if you're flying the Palestinian flag in downtown Toronto, you have police protection. If you have a trucker convoy going down to downtown Toronto to peacefully protest government overreach, Canadian citizens get their bank accounts frozen and arrested, thrown in jail. Years and years of legal fees to try to defend yourself for doing nothing wrong. They had fucking bouncy castles at our trucker convoy, right? That's not the same as, these violent protests that you're seeing from the pro-Palestinian conglomerate all across the globe. Which begs another question that one of my listeners rightfully posed to me. And he says, have you ever asked yourself what unites the worldwide left with the people that they're united with? Like in what planet does a government that has abhorrent women's rights track record, has abhorrent alphabet letter people track record, throw them off the roof kind of thing? That's the track record they have. So how do Western feminists and the alphabet people, we'll call them, how do Western feminists and the alphabet people and stuff, how do they align themselves with this concept? Anybody know out there? Like I said, one of my listeners asked me that question, and I'm flummoxed, to be honest with you. I don't know what the answer to that is, because it makes no sense whatsoever. Makes no sense whatsoever, right? Like the Queers for Palestine. I've seen that on social media. Those people would literally be unalived the moment that they touch down on the dirt for the country that they're protecting, or not protecting, but protesting for. It makes zero sense to me. And sir, Jerry, if you're listening, I have no answer for you, because I don't know. It makes no sense to me. We're living in bizarro world. We really are. Canada has arrested the first person for online hate speech. I believe they gave him 9 months in jail. So we're headed down that road, and we still have, I mean, even in my own little enclave of people that I know, I still have elbows up people, and it drives me crazy. I have, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, I've had to, stop following and unfriend, because I just couldn't read their nonsense anymore. It would get my blood boiling. I actually had a conversation with someone that I've been friends with. I've known them since like early high school. Like, I've known these people a long, long time. And they're the total elbows up fucking, yay Carney and fuck the UCP. Elbows up all the way. And we were talking, and they're posting stuff about the Forever Canada petition that's going around, because for my American friends that are listening, Alberta, we want to separate. Yeah, we want to become our own country, our own entity, our own republic, if you will. And without going into too much detail about how we're at this point, it's basically, we are in an electoral system here where the power is wielded down east. And because it has a larger concentration of population, of woke population by most part, but not all, but by most part, but because it has such a large concentration of woke population, when they vote, they get X amount of seats in the House of Commons. And basically the system as it's been rolled out is every year, because the population in these areas grows exponentially, partly because of immigration, right? Because they're buying votes by bringing immigrants in, offering them, none of them really, I don't want to say none of them because that is bigoted, because I know lots of proud immigrants from all over the world that work their fucking asses off every day. And I feel terrible for those people because it's literally, no matter what they do, the other side of the coin makes them all look bad. And we shouldn't judge based on that, but that's what happens. And, that's human nature. And, but I know lots of immigrants that are hardworking, proud, hardworking, work harder than me, for God's sake. But, they're not getting the benefit packages that some of these other new Canadians are getting for not working. I mean, just a trip to Costco for me yesterday, when you walk through the store and you see the people with the heaping cartfuls, they're all non-English speaking new Canadians. The people that have moderate carts are, the naturalized citizens, if you will, because it's coming off of our tax dollars. Like I said in the last episode, I think it's 46.3% of our working income is taxed by the government, whether it be on a municipal level or a provincial level or even a federal level. That's a lot of dough, man. That's almost half of everything that you're working for is going to the government, and then it's going to a government that has the majority of power down east, which is very woke. So as Albertans, we don't pay a lot of, we pay a lot of taxes. We give equalization payments down east, and they basically use that money and the power that they have due to the seats in Parliament to basically bend us over and dry fuck us, as if I'm being PG. So, yeah. So that's what's going on down there. We have a concentration of power down east and Alberta and most of the west, with the exception of BC, because they got this douchey NDP guy that's running the show there. But for most part, the west, Alberta, Saskatchewan, they've had it up to their fucking eyeballs with this unfairness. All other provinces, they're allowed to take on and roll out big projects, but because Alberta, Saskatchewan, and stuff like that are in the energy sector, that's the stuff that our government right now is putting the kibosh on. Now, interestingly enough, our prime minister continuously gets hammered with these conflict of interest investigations because, of course, he's invested heavily with his Brookfield Asset Management. He's invested heavily in oil and gas and natural resources, just not in Canada, right? So is that a conflict of interest that he stymies Canada's energy and natural resources while he's making money hand over fist with his outside of Canada investments, if you will? Of course, it's a conflict of interest. Of course, it's a conflict of interest. We're getting taken over. We're getting taken over by a cabal of crooks, man. Everywhere you look, we have, as I said, the guy in BC, the premier of BC. He's all swinging his dick about the tanker ban and stuff like that off the west coast of Canada. Yeah, I mean, I get it, the tanker ban, but what he doesn't fucking tell you is that the only tankers that he's banning is stuff that's coming in to Canada. Because all the other tankers, they're still merrily sailing on by Vancouver, the ports of Vancouver and stuff like that. Do you think that the Americans, when they're coming down from Alaska, with their oil tankers and stuff, that they're going to go the long way around because Canada has a tanker ban? No, they're just like sailing outside the jurisdiction of the Canadians, and they're still tankers. There's still the existential threat of one of those things rupturing and sinking and causing a calamity. So they're really not. It's a spectacle is what I'm saying, is what it is. They're really not protecting anything as much as they are posturing to make people that don't really look into things feel, my elected representatives are doing something. Yeah, they're doing something. They're fucking you, is what they're doing. They're bending you over because Canada could be we have the third largest oil reserves in the planet. I believe we're in the top 3 or 4 for minerals, uranium, things like that. But no, we are being run by a liberal government, which is full of no-brainers and climate zealots, that anything that comes out of the ground and could make the country prosperous is a big no-no. But they still want those equalization payments, coming down to them. We're getting hammered left, right, and center. And I'm not just talking Canada, guys. I'm talking like all over the world, man. Did you catch the Benjamin Netanyahu video of him talking about how they're trying to, we got to fight today's war with today's technology, which is the war of information. Pick a publication, pick a legacy publication that isn't run by. And again, I don't want to come across as anti-Semitic, because when I'm talking about, I'm not talking about all Jews, and I'm not a Jew hater. I'm talking about the state of Israel, because I can be critical of a government and the monsters that are the head of that snake without hating all the Jews that are, that are across the world or wherever they are, right? What I'm saying is I'm not anti-Semitic, but they control the flow of information. Pick me a legacy media publication, newspaper, anything. Pick me anything that isn't run by a Jewish person. Now we have Larry Ellison, a super pro-Israel American. You remember when Trump said that they were going to ban TikTok because it was like, poisoning our children, and, they rolled out all the fancy buzzwords and catchphrases that, TikTok is terrible. TikTok is terrible. We don't want China to have it. No, they don't want China to have it because they want Larry Ellison to have it for the state of Israel. Okay? Larry Ellison, He's buying TikTok. He owns Paramount, owns Warner Brothers, Netflix, also owned by the Jewish people. The New York Times, Barry Weiss, literally a nobody columnist that was doing occasional appearances on the Bill Maher show, has now been appointed to the head of CBS. People, am I the only one that thinks that they literally control all sources of information and that was their plan? I mean, in Netanyahu's speech, he said that they want to control TikTok so that they can regulate and monitor anti-Semitic content that is on that platform. They already control the media, the New York Times and just insert name of publication here. They run the banks. They run the media, they run the television now, and we're getting fed propaganda. And again, I'm not like throwing the Jews under the bus because it's all with the help of the Americans, the CIA, the FBI, the dark entities that work in the shadows that control everything. The Israeli lobby in American politics. I mean, you could go on and on and on and on, but we're just being fed. We're just being fed this bullshit, and we're starting to open our eyes because we're realizing, holy Christmas on a cracker. I think that we've been being fed propaganda our entire lives, and we wouldn't be wrong, folks. We wouldn't be wrong. The world is getting scarier and scarier and scarier by the minute. Digital IDs in the UK. They're trying to roll that out here in Canada. Unfortunately, I think that there's too many weaklings here in Canada that'll be all for it because it'll make things so much better. Yeah, so much better for them to track you. I was at the bank yesterday, and I was depositing some money. It wasn't like a huge amount. Let me backtrack a bit. Once upon a time, when you deposited money in Canada, you could deposit $9,999 into your bank without anybody even raising an eyebrow. The bank manager didn't give a shit. The teller certainly didn't give a shit. The government was like, yeah, whatever. They didn't care too much about it. So the other day I go into the bank yesterday and I go to deposit $1,000. Not like life-altering, drug funds or anything. It was just $1,000. Pulled it out of a different branch, and because I was down there, and deposited it into another branch because I don't trust any banks, certainly not enough to keep all my money and investments in one. Anyway, I go to deposit this $1,000, and the teller, who hardly speaks English, not fair, she speaks English, but she speaks broken English. She's new to Canada. Anyway, she says to me, you don't have to tell me, but we're supposed to ask where this money is coming from. I mean, I was fucking blown away. I couldn't believe it. You, with your limited grasp on the English language, are asking me, a Canadian citizen since 1978, why I'm depositing $1,000 into my bank account and where that money is coming from? Like, are you fucking for real? Is this where I'm living in? Anyway, in front of a crowded bank, I told her, I said, if you have to know, I said, I have an OnlyFans page where I shave my testicles for money. Well, that got the attention of all the tellers and part of the people in line behind me. I couldn't believe it, though, folks. I'm living in a free, little quotation marks, I'm living in a free country, and I'm already starting to be asked where my money is coming from when I'm depositing it. I don't even know what to say, man. I really don't know what to say. This is getting crazy. Like I said, they're trying to roll out the digital ID here in Canada. There's enough weaklings in our orbit. We all know them. We all know them, folks. That'll be like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. We got these weaklings in our orbit. We got like dozens upon dozens of RCMP cops out in BC guarding an ostrich farm. But the pedophiles and the rampant home invasions and the crime that's going on in the surrounding streets, they're not tending to that because they're bootlickers for the Canadian government. One of the ostrich hens they've already neglected enough where all indications show that whether it's from lack of food or lack of care and attention has died. I haven't gone and checked where we're standing right now. I know that the birds had got a stay of execution. But I don't know where it stands now. And like I said in the last podcast, these birds beat avian flu, right? So I would imagine that they would want to test these birds in order to see if there's any sort of natural antibodies that we can glean off of how they beat the bird flu. But nope. Our government has all the troops there, and they just are waiting for the word so that they can basically kill 400 healthy birds. What else is happening, folks? It just keeps getting better. Doesn't matter where you turn, where you look, it just keeps getting better. Here where I live, Imperial Oil, which is a huge employer in the core of downtown Calgary, they're laying off 20% of its workforce here in Alberta, which is about 1,000 employees. Nothing to sneeze at. And they're moving their global headquarters, which used to be here in Calgary, Alberta. Like I said, we're the third largest oil reserves on planet Earth. So there was lots of oil companies that had set up shop and have since fleeing the confines of Canada's economy, thanks to Carnage Carney and the Liberals. So they're laying off 20% of their workforce here, which is about 1,000 employees. They're moving their global headquarters out of Canada. And gosh, golly, lucky Brookfield is in the wings to buy up all their headquarters and all their Alberta assets. The same Brookfield that Mark Carney has a board position on, but he swears that there's no conflict of interest. He's just snapping up real estate left, right, and center from companies that he has legislated into having no choice other than to pull their shit off the off of the Alberta landscape. What else? Like I said, my Costco trip, that was interesting. That was interesting. It really was. I think we're at the point, folks, where, good men are going to have to do bad things to bad people in order for us to weather this storm. I love Canada. I do. But I think that I love the illusion of what Canada used to be, because it's certainly not the same country that I grew up in, the same country that I got my opportunities in. And unfortunately, I think that Alberta separation is the only way for us to remain prosperous. It's the sad way to do it. Like, you hate to break up a country, but like I said, if you're not getting any representation and you're constantly getting taxed and taxed and taxed, now they want to come after home equity when places in Florida, they're like you can write off your mortgage interests and stuff like that. Actually, I think in many parts of the United States you can write off mortgage interest. Nope, here they just want more and more and more. And then when your house is paid off and you think that, we're at the light at the end of the tunnel, no, now they want to come after those people that have done everything right, and they want to attack our home equity. So that's what we're dealing with. We still don't really have answers in the Charlie Kirk thing. I don't know if you're following that or not, but that people like Candace Owens are onto something when the machine goes into full damage control and starts attacking these people on every platform. Every platform they're getting attacked. Back to the Benjamin Netanyahu thing, that was another thing that he talked about in his speech, that they're actually paying Western influencers up to $7,000 a post, $7,000 per post, in order for them to increase their content with more pro-Israeli stuff. But again, when you're talking about that they've propagandized the way that basically Western society gleans information about the goings on in the world. They have monopolized it. They own everything, and what they don't own or what they can't control, they'll do whatever is necessary in order to kind of so that the house is favored, if you will. And these Candace Owen people, Tucker Carlson, you know that they're onto something when the machine goes into full operation, man, and they're getting attacked everywhere. The Charlie Kirk thing, assassinating him, I think, was totally because he was straying away from the pro-Israeli thing. As far as the state of Israel, he loved the Jewish people. He loved Israel. He professed that over and over again. But the state of Israel and their geopolitical movements are something that he wasn't aligned with anymore, or at the very least that he was more vocal about. And for him to have that kind of power over the next generation of voting citizens, you can kind of draw the correlations as to why they would want to silence someone like him. That story just has way too many questions still. I've never seen any sort of event of that magnitude, or even of event of lesser magnitude, be open and shut in such a short time with that many holes and that many questions left unanswered. The campus had literally thousands of cameras all over the place. They had a full-on view of the rooftop where the shooter was laying. They have the video footage of the alleged shooter running and climbing off the roof. Why don't they post the picture of him actually taking the fatal shot? Right? Like why is that something that they haven't even mentioned, for that matter. Why is it that, on a massive manhunt for the killer, that the alleged killer is seen a short time after the assassination inside a Dairy Queen, right? Video footage inside a Dairy Queen. Why is everybody that's on the news and talking about what they seen all linked and related to one another, or to certain entities, or to media entities, or to government entities, or to military entities? Anyway, folks, I don't know. All I'm saying is that I've never seen such an event of such magnitude just get open and shut in such a short time. There's, how about, again, we talk about that Zinn guy, that was creating a ruckus while the real killer got away. Too many unanswered questions. Too many, too many balls in the air that are distracting you. They're distracted. Look at this, and because when you're looking at that, you're not looking at this, and it's pretty shady, and we have to keep on top of these things because the forces of evil, they're not slowing down. They're not slowing down by the looks of things. At the top of the show, the Christian genocide. I'm sure that some of my listeners, you guys are critical thinkers out there. You've probably kind of at least had this on your radar. I'm hoping that you did. Me, on the other hand, I've heard smatterings of this, but when I went down the rabbit hole and got the details of it, I was blown away. Blown away, man. Like this, if this was that this happened, that 500,000 Gazans were systematically executed, this would be front page news of every newspaper all over the planet. It would be every talking point on every news broadcast in the modern media. And you would basically have to live in a cave under a rock in order to escape from it. But here in the Western world, you get smatterings of it, but for most cases, crickets. And you have to wonder what is going on. Anyway, folks, that's what's going on. That's kind of the recap of the week. In a nutshell, it's still a shit show. It's not getting any better by the looks of things. But as I said in all my podcasts, you need to surround yourself with your people. And you need to get ready because something is afoot. I've been saying this now for a couple of episodes. Something is afoot, and we need to brace ourselves for the pushback. Because there's never anybody that's going to obtain power and then relinquish it voluntarily. It's never happened since the beginning of time. So for you people that are, maybe we'll catch it on the next election, or maybe we'll, vote this guy out and vote this person in. It doesn't work that way. We have to lace up, and we have to get our poop in a group, and we have to start pushing back. If we want to save our culture and we want to right this course that we've been steered into, folks, we need to get our shit together. Anyway, folks, that's it for me for this week. Thanks for tuning in. I do appreciate all the support. Like I said, go down to the bottom of the page, hit the like and subscribe button. I did ask that question, like, what makes you guys think that, like, the feminists, Western feminists, and the alphabet gang, what do you guys think makes them unite with the pro-Palestinian Hamas, pro-Hamas movement? Go to my Facebook page. I posted a video of this young girl. She can't be older than 6 or 7 years old. chanting like antifada and stuff like that, I think, on the streets of Australia. This is brainwashing, folks. The Ivy League schools, they've all been taken over. All of them, Harvard, Princeton, they've all been taken over. And we're at battle, folks. I don't know how to say it any other way, man. We're at battle. So keep your ears open, keep your eyes open, surround yourself with your people, and stand for what you believe in. We are too powerful as a force. That's why they want to divide us by whatever measure, whatever metric. There's more of us that think a certain way than there is that are like let's just open all the borders and let's just let, a free flow of people in and out of the place. It doesn't work. It's not sustainable. It's never worked. It's going to be our downfall. So, folks, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for letting me rant and rave. It really is therapeutic for me. It really is. It really, really is. I mean, I go down these rabbit holes during the week and I'm just like, holy shit, holy fuck, oh my God, what the hell? It's nonstop. Everywhere you look, it's like, what the hell is going on here, man? Anyway, folks, all we can do is roll up our sleeves and stand firm with what we believe in. And, I am in your corner. Know this, man. I'm not taking a knee to any of these entities, man. I will not comply. And I'm going to fight you, man. Like the third rat on the fucking Noah's Ark, man. I'll fight you. Anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. I do appreciate everything. Remember, we are in October now. It is the start of, if you will, the festive season. And by the festive season, I mean, you're getting together with family. Here in Canada, we got Thanksgiving. I believe it's next weekend. The big turkey lurkey. My American friends, they have their Thanksgiving in November. It's the kickoff for Halloween parties, Thanksgiving. Before you know it, the pre-Christmas parties, the companies throw. And before you know it, it's Christmas and New Year's Eve. So it's the festive season. So, folks, I'm not a prude. I'm not telling you to not have a good time, to not drink, to refrain from the bottle or the festivities. I'm not telling you any of that. But for God's sake, folks, if you drink, please do not drive. We all have families that want to see us. We all have loved ones, children, pets that just won't know where you went if you don't come home. Do you know what I mean? So enjoy the festivities. Fill your boots. Give her till your liver quivers. But don't fucking drink and drive. Don't be an asshole. Don't drink and drive. I'm going to have a special guest coming on here between now and the holidays. A young gentleman that I met when I was in my podcasting event thing there a couple of weeks ago. Just an inspiration. Young fella was getting a ride from a friend who'd been drinking. Anyway, got T-boned and had life-altering injuries. I don't want to get too much into detail because that's going to be the fodder of the show, but I'm going to bring him on here a little closer to the holidays, I think, and talk about his story. And he truly is he truly is an inspiration. One of the funniest guys that I had the chance to rub elbows with at this pod summit thing that I was at, and just an inspirational guy all around, man. Like, got dealt a pretty shitty fucking hand in life, and made lemonade out of lemons, if you will. Nicest guy and funniest guy I've ever met. Anyway, so yeah, folks, get out there, enjoy. Here where I am in Alberta, we're experiencing the last flailings of summer. Next week here, it's supposed to be pretty nice. So that's, the annual pack up the patio furniture and tuck it away for the before the snow flies. So thanks again, folks, for tuning in. I do appreciate all the time that you guys spend with me, man. Let me rant and rave. It really is therapeutic. Drop me a line, man. Send me some shit in the comments. Let me know if you guys have got any story ideas or just chat. I do try to answer all my messages and DMs and stuff. So please feel free to reach out. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button below. And we will see you next week. Stay safe. Stay vigilant. See ya!